Afternoon. Could you just give us a little bit of team news, please? Who's available, and maybe how some of your injured ones are progressing and when we might see them?
Yeah, from last week, last game, Ben Davies obviously came on with hamstring, so probably looking at about a month or so for him out. Gio and Lo Celso, similarly, although it's a bit harder to sort of diagnose where he's at the moment, we're going to sort of send him for further tests Monday to see exactly what the issue is, but he'll miss this weekend. Dane Scarlett's picked up an injury as well at training, so he'll miss out. And that's it really, and then sort of coming back, the only one that sort of joined the main group today has been Romero, and that's it. I think everyone else who's injured still training away from the main group.
Is Romero close?
Well, he's just sort of started training, so fair to say probably might be a bit quick this weekend.
You obviously have made a couple of signings this week, nice and early as you wanted in the window. Radu, Dragusin, we've seen the clips, we've seen the sort of stats, but what do you like about him, particularly as a player, but also as a person? How will he fit into what you're trying to do here?
Yeah, look, obviously we knew that sort of that position was a priority position for us going into the January window. We kind of went through the first half of the year. We let sort of Davies and Sanchez go after the window closed, so we kind of knew that if the right opportunity came in January, that we had to sort of try and bring somebody in, and so we did a fair bit of work on it. And once we got sort of closer to the time where we had to make a decision about which way to go, Johan and his team sort of did a lot of background work on it, and I think he's just a good fit for us from a football perspective. Certainly he has some great attributes as a young player. And after my chats with him, obviously as a person as well, I think he's come here sort of with the right motivations about why he wants to make the next step and why Tottenham's the right club for him. So I think he'll fit in really well with the group we've got here at the moment. There's quite a few of them sort of at a similar age bracket, and part of that process is hopefully we can build a team that sort of grows together, and I'm sure he'll be a good fit for that.
We know a lot more about Timo Werner. We've seen a bit more of him in the Premier League, but what do you want to see from him in a Spurs shirt over the next few months?
Look, again, I thought it was just a real good opportunity for us. When it was presented to me, before the new year, that we kind of knew, particularly with Sonny going away for such a period of time, and we still felt we probably needed another player in the front third, and whilst centre back was a priority, if a good opportunity came, we wanted to move fairly quickly. And again, I had a good chat to Johan about it, and I thought Timo would be a really good fit for us stylistically. Certainly has the attributes we look for in a player in that space. He can play all three positions, which adds kind of some real depth for us and quality in the front third. And again, after I had a chat to him, he's really motivated. He really likes the opportunity that Tottenham can give him in terms of where he's at in his career, and I think he can add to us as a group.
Charlie.
Hi, Ange. Just staying on Timo, he said you both had a chat before he came, and he spoke about the flexibility that he has in attack. With Son obviously away for the next month or so, do you think it's likely we'll see him playing out on the left, and where do you see him specifically fitting into that attack?
No, I think part of the attraction was that he can play sort of left, right. He can play through the middle, and as I said, with Sonny away, obviously, we've still got a fairly extensive injury list, and we've kind of used Deki, Kulusevski, in the wide areas in midfield, and I just think having Timo in gives us that flexibility and opportunity to play him anywhere there, depending on the game. Can change it during the game, so that was part of the appeal, that I think he's equally comfortable in all those areas.
Just one more for me. Looking ahead to Manchester United, they've been inconsistent this season. So, what are you expecting? What can you expect from them on Sunday?
I think you go to these games expecting them to be at their best. Like I said, they've been inconsistent, but when they've played well, they're still a very, very good football side, and they've certainly got some real quality right throughout their team, and particularly at Old Trafford. You know, it's going to be a difficult game. The supporters will be behind them, so we're expecting a tough game. Great challenge for us, but so far, in those kind of venues, in the bigger stadiums against the top teams, so far we've done fairly well, but it'll be another good challenge for us come Sunday.
Ian. Hi, Ange, how are you?
Good, thanks, mate.
Hugo Lloris has gone, Harry Kane's gone, Eric's gone to Bayern Munich as well. Feels like there's been a real changing of the guard here in the last few months. Do you feel like this is now getting towards being your team?
No, it's been my team from day one. I take responsibility for the team from the moment I arrived, and I haven't felt like it's anyone else's team but mine from the first day. But as you said, and I've said a few times that the club made a conscious decision that kind of to pivot and change in the way we went about things, and for that to happen, you need to also have change in personnel. And as you said, Hugo left, and Eric moves on to another sort of chapter in his career. He's another one who's had a fantastic career here at Tottenham. He's left his mark. He was part of a very, very good football side that made many great memories for our supporters here, and I think he certainly leaves his mark on his time here at Tottenham, and he moves to another big club and hopefully has success in his next career. And for us, it's just a constant sort of evolution of trying to inch forward and step forward to becoming sort of the team we want to be. And as I keep saying, we're still at the early stages of that.
Timo Werner was a little bit unlucky at Chelsea. In fact, in terms of the fact that when he arrived, it was during COVID. Largely, most of his career was played during that uncertain season where we had no crowds and then limited crowds back. His time at Chelsea doesn't make him a bad player, but how much is it for you as a manager to kind of prove to everybody in England he is a good player by what he shows at Spurs?
Again, I don't look too much into that. I kind of look at, always, when talking about bringing players in, for me, it's do I see them, playing in the football team that I've got right now and I want to create. And if I do see them from a football perspective, then it's about understanding where they are in their lives and their own sort of careers. And obviously Timo was at a point where he was looking for something to sort of change from his current status, and there was a possibility that moving was one of those options. And I said once I spoke to him, it's about where he's at now. What's happened in the past is not really relevant. It's he's still at a good age. He's still very motivated. He's got national team aspirations. And he wants to play at the highest possible level. And this football club offers him that opportunity now.
Finally, we're at the stage where we're having our winter break. You'll play this week, you won't play next week until the FA Cup. You've just come from Celtic where you have a proper winter break, actual proper time off. Is the Premier League, should it either have a proper break or should it not bother? This half and half, kind of like some teams playing one week and then some the other week. Do you have a view on that?
Not really. I mean, it's hard because when you look at the calendar, particularly here in England and the Premier League, and the demands on players, on the one hand, it makes sense to have some sort of break, but the flip side of that is it probably means they cram more games either side of it. So it's hard to find, a kind of clear solution for that. I think the bigger concern moving forward is just the actual load that players have to carry these days, just in the number of games, tournaments, representative football they have to play, and coming up with a calendar that allows them to play at their best and perform at their best without too much attrition from a physical perspective.
George.
Angelo, when Timo was at Chelsea, I think he had a record of 16 disallowed goals. So just sort of wondering, he was caught offside a lot as well. He's just a very unlucky player? Is that something that you've identified that you can make him better at? Because that could potentially be a lot of points for Tottenham this season if you can convert those into legitimate goals.
Yeah, again, I think that's probably not the way I look at it. Like I said, I'm looking at today and, you know, what he can give us today, and not, you know, looking at something that happened 3-4 years ago. I just don't think is relevant. I dare suggest he's a different player, certainly a different person. You know, we all sort of, you know, with the more experiences we have, we evolve, we kind of grow up in many sense. You know, there's more maturity. He's probably a different stage of his life. So, again, I don't look at it that way. What I look at is if we bring, you know, Timo in, can he contribute to the side we have today and and the way we play, and like I said, provided his motivations are right, I think I saw there was an opportunity there for him and for us to sort of use this as a platform to help us, you know, achieve our goals.
On Dragusin, you said you had conversations with him. Can you just tell us what you said to him to make him to buying your project and join Tottenham rather than Bayern Munich? Because there was talk that he was possibly going there.
No, look, I mean, I don't try and sell anything. Like I said, it's just a conversation, and you know, we, like with all, you know, with Timo and every player I've signed, it's just a conversation about sort of what I believe and sort of my thoughts on them as players, where I see them fitting in, and sort of trying to create a sort of picture in their head about, you know, what they'll encounter when they get here and what we're trying to build, and the rest is up to them. It's not. I think, you know, part of the key for me is that they want to come to this football club. I'm not going to bend their arm or try and convince them. You know, part of it is them having a buy-in to get excited about coming to us.
And you've done two players coming in, one gone. Did you speak to the club about doing business early, and how important is that for you that you've got two players in on the 12th of January already?
Yeah, I think I spoke about it in here that, you know, I thought, you know, from our perspective, if we could do things early, but it's easier said than done because whilst we may have a desire to do things early, you know, you've got to have all parties agreeing to that, you know, clubs and players, and it's not easy to do, particularly in January. But I think the key thing for us was, you know, from the chairman to, as I said, Johan, his team, Scott, myself, we're all very aligned in, you know, what we wanted to do, and we got our targets early, and then so it wasn't a matter of sort of chasing down too many things. It was pretty clear what we were trying to do, and if it didn't happen, then we'd move on. But I think the fact that we're all sort of aligned and really clear on sort of what our objectives were allowed us to, you know, sort of be sitting here now with two players in, which is great. Not so much for Sunday, but we know we've got a 2-week break, which means, you know, we get at least a couple of weeks working with the lads to get them up to speed, and then hopefully by then we get some of the injured blokes back, and you know, a couple of weeks later we'll get the international guys back, and hopefully that means we're in good shape because we brought the lads in early.
Charlie?
Can I just clarify, what are the Dane and Gio injuries?
Both muscle injuries, but not clear. Dane's hamstring. Gio's still not clear. We're still trying to work that out.
I just wanted to ask, because there have been a few hamstring injuries, obviously this season. I know you've spoken about this before when you were at Celtic. What do you put that down to? Is that bad luck? Is that...
No, I think I've spoken about that before. It's part of, you know, the game model we have, and it's obviously, you know, requires a really big physical output, but also the fact that we haven't been able to sort of, you know, because of the circumstances, rotate the squad too much. I mean, probably Ben Davies is a classic example of that, who's played, you know, a hell of a lot, and we haven't been able to sort of rotate him out, and just a consequence of sort of the way we play, the way we train. But at the same time, I think, you know, once we get sort of a more robust and sort of deeper squad, we'll be able to overcome that.
With that in mind, would you kind of tweak things in training, or just see it as you said, a consequence of how you want to play?
No, how we play and how we train is why we're where we are.
Ali, please.
Hi, Ange. Let's ask you about the type of players you sign. Obviously, all players have to work very hard to get to this level. It feels like maybe majority? I mean, it could be a coincidence that the players that you sign at Spurs especially have had little setbacks. Maybe they've dropped down leagues, been relegated, or they've had to start again, or have had sticky kind of spells in their career. Is that part of a character you look in a player, that they've kind of been able to overcome challenges and maybe makes them a tougher player as a result?
No, not necessarily. I mean, you take it all into account, though. I mean, like I said, it's not, it's not an exact science, but the more information you have, I think, the better chance you have of making, a good decision around it. So you take it all into account. You obviously look at the player's history and kind of how they've got to where they've got to, and it doesn't mean you exclude people who kind of have had a sort of smooth transition in their careers, but there isn't many footballers who haven't had setbacks in their careers. Even the very best will, if you track back, there'll be some moment in their career where they've had some sort of adversity they've had to fight back from. That's part of the battle to get to this level. So it's not something that I kind of try and highlight. It's more, like I said, just trying to gather as much information about players and their background and kind of understanding the kind of people they are and where they are in terms of their sort of journey as a footballer.
Radu Dragusin, I think he has to get a work permit. Are you confident he'll have that in time to play a part the weekend?
Yeah, from what I've been told, again, it's not my area, but from what I've been told, everyone's pretty confident he'll be available for Sunday.
And are you done in the transfer market in terms of incomings, or are you going to look for any more opportunities?
We'll see. Like I said, we had some pretty clear sort of objectives, which we've kind of ticked off for now, and there's still. I think I said every window is an opportunity for us to get better. If there's an opportunity for us to get better, we'll take it. But in terms of what we were trying to achieve going into it, I'm really pleased that we've got two players in it. I think will play a very important part for us second half of the year and beyond.
Okay, back to Theodore, please.
Hello, we came from Romania for Radu Dragusin. First of all, I would like to say that the English colleagues, the English journalists, have a big advantage that they can see you and speak to you every week, and this is not for us. Maybe
I don't know if they think it's an advantage, but I know what you're saying.
First of all, when did you realize that you really need Radu, and which was his best quality? I don't know, the quality that impressed you most, attracted you.
Yeah, look, as I said, we've kind of been working on the sort of centre-back position pretty much since the summer window closed, and there's been a whole list of players that we've kind of worked through methodically, and a lot of that work's been done by the scouting department, and then obviously Johan came in, and Rob McKenzie and the team started working into further detail and got it presented to me probably 6 weeks ago, and from that onwards, Radu was always kind of on the radar as one of the players that we thought would be a good option for us, and then it was about sort of just trying to get as much information, as I said before, about him as a player, as a person. We obviously tried to talk to as many people, and we had him scouted obviously again, and I've been following him since we kind of highlighted him, and I think once we, in my mind, once we got down to the real detail of it, I thought he was the best option for us. So, before the window opened, we kind of made a decision that Radu was going to be our number one priority, and I like his defensive attributes. I like his physical attributes. I think there's still a lot of growth in him. There's a lot of improvement in him. He's only 21. He's had 1 year in the Serie A, not even a full year, and I think he fits kind of the profile of the kind of players we want here.
How will pass Radu Dragusin from the low defense of Genoa to the aggressive, ultra aggressive, I can say high defense of Tottenham, and how will be the fight of three very good players, Van de Ven, Romero, and Radu, for just two positions in the middle of the defense. You always played 4 defense, 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3. But you might change the system for them to have all 3 in the team.
No, because even though you describe it that way, the reality is I've had 0 centre backs for 2 positions most of this year. So, and I've had to play full backs in there. So, the reason we want Radu in is because we know that it's not just injuries, but there's certain games we want to change things, and we need more than 2 top centre backs. And bringing Radu in gives us that opportunity now to have 3 top centre backs. Different games will call for different things. Allows us to sort of manage the playing time of those players, so we don't get as many injuries as we've had. So that was really important. And in terms of the different style, it's something I spoke to Radu about, that we obviously play very differently from what he's used to, but he liked that. He was attracted to that. It's what he thinks he needs for the next stage of his career. And again, that was pleasing to me, because it will be different, very different. But again, I think he's a quick learner, and already he's asking all the questions he needs to ask and what he needs to do to improve, and I'm sure he'll do that.
Our national coach, Eduard Iordanescu, would like to see him playing almost every week, every day, because the European Championship is 5 months away. Are you going to give him as many opportunities to play?
He'll have the same opportunities as everyone else, but also if Radu just wanted to play, he would have stayed at Genoa. He's come to a big club. When you go to a big club, you know that you have to compete. That's part of your development. And I think even for the Romanian national team, Radu being at a big club, competing against the World Cup winner in Romero and Mickey van der Ven, who's, I think, fast will become one of the best defenders in his space, I think is exactly where Radu needs to be, and it'll benefit the national team.
The last question, are you going to put him in the squad on Sunday?
We'll see how, hopefully all the paperwork gets done, but if all the paperwork gets done, he will be in the squad, yes.
And in the first lineup?
I usually tell the team first before I tell the journalists, so we'll just wait and see, okay?
And to finish with George, please.
Thank you. Hi, Ange. Are you sort of at the stage now in terms of the Premier League table where you're kind of looking at it, and if so, I guess it's probably more externally, but there's 8 points between Tottenham and Man United. Does that kind of raise the significance of this match for you, or do you have to ignore that?
I don't have to ignore it, but I don't think it's really relevant, to be honest. I think we're 20 games into a season, you kind of know what's left, and we've gone through a tough time, but we're in an okay position. We're not too far, from where we want to be, and it's just about making sure that we kind of. The key for us is progress. That we keep sort of improving our football, and like I said, hopefully we get some personnel back, which allows us to finish the season strong. If we can finish the season stronger than we've started, then we'll be in a good place. But I usually look ahead, mate, not in the rearview mirror.
And Man United, synonymous with Sir Alex Ferguson, 27 years. Not going to ask you if you're going to be here for 27 years.
I won't be, mate.
But generally, you've at clubs you've been sort of 3 or 4 seasons, and I think you spoke before about needing to move on and keep yourself moving up. At Spurs, you just spoke about everything being aligned. Do you feel like this could be a home for longer than that? Obviously, touch wood, everything going well.
If only it was in just my hands, mate. It's not how management works, and as much as you all love me right now, it could change very quickly at some point. And again, I don't really put a timeline on these things. My role and my responsibility is to try and, from when I was appointed, to get this club into a position where it has success and competes for trophies. And none of us have this sort of endless timeline to achieve that, especially at big clubs. Like I said, you see at Man United, and as soon as there's a little blip or it looks like things are slipping away, there's an enormous amount of attention, and that changes people's timeline of how things need to be done, how quickly. So I don't sort of think about it in those terms. I'm determined to sort of try and, like I said, bring success to the club. Every manager works against a sort of anonymous clock that none of us know, when the end time is. So if you start thinking in those sort of, those points of reference, I think it takes you away from what your primary task is. And my primary task and responsibility, as I said, is to bring success here.